Okay, it seems that I could be live. Hello, whiskey folk. Hello, YouTube. This is Roy, Aqvavitae. I am trying, just experimenting here, to see if I could make this live thing work. This is my first time doing this. But I was interested to kind of just try this and test the water with people to see if there was an appetite for a live show, for a live stream. The guys in the States seem to be quite successful at this. The Scotch Test Dummies, they go out quite regularly on a Sunday. Scotch 4 Dummies do it every Thursday. Then you have, yeah, it seems that I'm live. Wow. Then you have Malted in Montreal and Food Quig. Those guys are all quite successful with live streams, and it seems to go down quite well, probably because of the interaction and the discussion that you can get going. And it struck me that there's nobody doing a live stream in this time zone. So I thought that that could be something to try, just to test the water. So I'm just going to pull out the chat thing in case anybody pops in, but this is completely unannounced. Nobody knows about this. I just released a video tonight, so I'm sitting here on YouTube answering comments and decided to just jump in. Hey, well, we've got a couple of guys in. We have Scott. Hey, Scott, how are you? Good to see you. Rafael Ortega. Hey there, Rafael. Reb, hi Reb, we've just been talking in the comments, haven't we? George Kaplan, fantastic George, good to see you. Whiskey Jason, Travis, Triple Cap, Walt, good to see you too. Wow, this is fantastic. Everybody just dropping in. Listen guys, I don't have anything planned. I don't want this to be a disaster. I'm just testing out this whole idea because I realized that there's, unless I'm not aware of something, unless there is a live stream going on, unless somebody's doing it in our time zone, I thought that it could be something that we actually could use. It could be fun. I don't know if I'm the guy to host it. I think it could be, I mean, it could be really quite flexible. I mean, I considered kind of maybe setting up a kind of whiskey channel that would just be for live streaming. And that way, what you could do is you could pass that channel to different hosts by just kind of giving out the stream key each time. And, you know, that would mean that it could probably stay a bit more regular because it wouldn't rely on one person being available at that regular slot each week or whatever it was going to be. So let's read some of these comments to see if there's, if you do ask me any questions, it'd be awesome if you could just kind of hit the @ key and then start to type Aqvavitae, AQV, and then hit enter, and it'll highlight it, and I'll see the question, and I'll know that it's for me. I think the water has been tested and passed the test. Yes, I think you're absolutely right, Reb. If people are just jumping in, that's fantastic. Scotch Cooper. Hey Scotch. Hey Chris, how are you, fella? Scotch Cooper is a fellow YouTuber. He has a channel. He just started a few weeks back, and he's got some really quite fun content. Have a look at Scott. Scott Monroe. We've met Scott. We've enjoyed some drams together just a couple of weeks ago. That was fantastic. Triple Cap Walt. We've met. We've also enjoyed some drams together. George, unfortunately, you and I have not met, but I'm sure that could happen one day. That would be fantastic. Jason in Germany. I do a live stream every Sunday evening at 21 p.m. So it's 9 p.m. Central European in German. So I don't speak much German, but I didn't know you were doing that, Jason. It's still cool that you're doing it. Is it successful? How's it working out for you? Virtual live tasting sessions. Where's the whiskey? Colin Jameson, hello sir, how are you? Well, I have the whiskey here. I don't know if you've had time to catch the video that I put out today, but two of the non-age statements that I mentioned in that video I have here, and I thought I could pour and share it with you. I'm starting with the Deanston. Actually, I should probably start with the Tomatin because it's got a little less ABV. Nice to see you, Colin. Andy Walker. I liked your ABC whiskey video. Thank you very much. Do you know, I have to be honest and say that I was a wee bit nervous about putting that out because there's quite a few controversial subjects in there. But I guess if nothing else, you give it a go and try and generate some discussion, right? And see how people feel about it. And that's already started happening. It was quite cool to see that. Malt fan. A virtual tasting would be fantastic. Yeah, the difficult thing about a virtual tasting is that it would be tough to get people drinking the same whiskey. I guess if you announced it in advance and you tried to select fairly kind of common whiskies, you could probably get folk pouring the same drams and tasting along at the same time. Tweet tastings are great fun. You should try and get involved in those because what you find is that there are lots and lots of people on Twitter at the same time tasting the same whiskies. And there's usually a host guiding you through which dram to taste. A lot of the time these things are sponsored. Recently I did that boutique whiskey company tasting and it was awesome. So yeah, virtual tasting, it could be something that would be developed. Colin, I drank it on Saturday. Yes, you did. We drank together. Good, sir. It was good fun to see you at the weekend. Raphael, any nice distilleries to visit when in Scotland? Raphael, I have to be honest with you that there's a bunch, and in recent years there's just more and more distilleries opening their doors to visitors. They're putting a lot of investment into the visitor centres. Yes, there's hundreds of whiskey mecca type places to go to when you're here. Make the trip, it's fabulous. Don't come here for the weather, come here for the whiskey. Between 30 to 60, Whiskey Jason, between 30 to 60 watch live, and then another 200 to 600 people watch the replay. Jason, that's awesome. That's absolutely awesome. And that's in German. But you guys, the Germans are really, really into their whiskey. You're a knowledgeable country as well. I tend to find that every German I meet in the whiskey scene is a very knowledgeable guy. So I think you've got a huge following for whiskey in Germany. So that's very cool. If you can get 200 to 600 people watching the replay, that's tremendous. Let me ask you, Jason, do you just do an ad hoc thing? Is there someone hosting it and just kind of interacting with the comments like now? Or is there some kind of structure to it? Is there some kind of format? Is there a theme? Do you talk about specific whiskies or distilleries? Do you do simultaneous tasting? Do you talk about whiskey concepts? Are there quizzes or competitions? I mean, I've kind of had all these ideas about how to do this, but you know, obviously you need the participation, I guess. But this is very encouraging that there's already 20 guys jumped in, and I haven't even announced this. That's awesome. Etty, I don't know if I'm pronouncing your name right, my friend. Etty Sick. Hi Roy, still forward thinking, I see. Well, I'm a wee bit behind the curve, if I'm honest. There's a few guys that in the UK that have done some live shows, and one of the guys that's desperate to get involved is Vin at No Nonsense Whiskey. He would be completely up for doing live streaming. He's a great guy as well, but he's got a problem in that where he lives, his broadband is very slow. But the guys in the States have been doing live streaming for well over a year now, and it seems to be going down very, very well. And a lot of discussion happens, a lot of fun is to be had. And I like to get involved in that, I really do. The problem I have is that it's usually on at 3 o'clock in the morning or something like that for us here. So there's not much chance of getting to see it most of the time, and you end up having to try and pick up the replay. I just did a review. Reb is saying he just did a review of these two. I'll go and get my Deanston and Tomatin. Good man, Reb. Yeah, I haven't read your blog yet. I'm going to go and give that a read. And very, very interesting to hear whether you liked these two whiskies or not, or whether you agreed with my recommendations. I've got Toon. Hi, Toon. How are you today? I notice you've commented, I think, in the past, but you subscribed today, my friend, and thank you very much. Roy, how long are you in with whiskey? Whiskey for me, well, living in Scotland, whiskey's just kind of around. It's just here. It just kind of hangs in the air, right? But I wasn't a fan of whiskey. I didn't really drink it until I took a visiting Italian colleague to visit Glengoyne back in 2005. And it was at his insistence, and he was really disgusted with me that I could be living in the country, in his words, that make the finest spirit in the world, and I choose not to know anything about it. So I took him to visit Glengoyne. He was absolutely adamant that we visited a distillery, and that was in 2005. And I was hooked. I thought it was a wonderful experience. And then I spent maybe 3-4 years just casually enjoying whiskey, not really studying it as such, but enjoying it. I kind of just learned the regions and learned some brands and things, and bought some bottles and shared it a lot with friends. And then in 2009, an experience with a bottle of Lagavulin 16 transformed me from just a casual whiskey drinker to where I am today, which is kind of really quite a passionate enthusiast, a whiskey geek, I guess. Michael, hey, hi Michael, well done on your videos. I love the quality of your filming and edits coupled with your whiskey knowledge. Keep up the great work. Thank you for that, Michael, but it is a journey, and I'm finding that as I go through the process each time, I'm getting a wee bit better, and that's the same with whiskey as well. The more that you study the subject, the more you understand it. That's kind words. Thank you, Michael. I hope you're a subscriber. I was just watching one of your other videos and saw this live one appearing up in the corner of the screen. Well, welcome in. Fantastic that you could join. Whiskey Jason. I also have a different guest each week, and we drink 4 to 6 whiskies. Wow. And talk about the whiskey subject they are passionate about. Fantastic. Very good. 4 to 6 whiskies. How long does that show go on for then, Jason? I mean, is that like a 45-minute, 1-hour show, and you're getting through, 4 to 6 drams? Are they full pours that you're pouring? Because I think I would be a little bit merry after 4 to 6 whiskies, certainly. Everest. Sorry for being late. Not at all, Everest, because nothing was announced. Still had to finish your newest video. Greetings from Germany. You're in Germany too. That was a very interesting comment, Everest, that you left. I will get a chance to reply to it. I like your comment. You bring up a lot of good points, and I certainly want to engage with that. Thanks for taking the time to comment. The quality is amazing. What are you drinking, Reb? Raphael, any comments about the Longmorn you were holding in the ABCD video? Yes, I'm quite surprised how many people actually probably spotted that was a Longmorn. Longmorn is one of my favourite distilleries. It's a wonderful distillery, and it's legendary in the blending industry in Scotland. And some people have actually told me that it doesn't matter what they add Longmorn to, but it improves it. And it's really in high demand and by blenders because it's such a good malt. And there was a Longmorn 15 that was out for years that was a wonderful whiskey, but they eventually replaced it with a new kind of premiumized Longmorn 16. And it was a bit more expensive. It came out at £50. And one of my friends, the Whiskey Rev, he was talking about it, and he said that he would really like to try it. I found it in an airport, and this is going back maybe 4 to 5 years, and I picked it up and I bought that Longmorn 16, and it was wonderful. It was absolutely wonderful. And I went out and bought another 2 bottles immediately. Eventually I traded one with the Whiskey Rev. He took one of those. We got through the bottles, and then I started to look for a replacement, and it was gone. It had disappeared. It's auction fodder now, unfortunately. But they replaced it with that bottle I was holding. So the Longmorn 16 was a 16-year-old age statement. It had 48% ABV. I don't know about if it's unchill filtered or if it was natural color, but I can tell you that the distiller's choice that they replaced it with was not 48%, it was 40. It didn't have an age statement. I'm fairly certain it was colored, and I would be suspicious that it would be certainly chill filtered as well. Because it had Longmorn on the label, I just bought it, and I also bought another bottle of it for a friend for his 50th birthday a couple of years ago. This was. We opened it and we poured it and shared it together, and we were devastated. And we left it for a while, and we went back to it, and we revisited time and time again, and it was just such a disappointment. It's completely different profile, completely different experience, completely different whiskey. That bottle that I've got that I held in my hand there, that will stay sealed. That will stay. And if somebody turns up at my house and says, yeah, I really enjoy the Distiller's Choice, I think it's called, I'll trade them the bottle. They can have it, but I really don't like it. There's a new Longmorn 16 out, by the way. It's a slightly different profile, and it's certainly much, much better than the one I held up in the video. Much better. But it's quite a bit more expensive. I think it's about £80 now, and still not that really light, subtle, complex, you kind of really tropical fruit note heavy that the Longmorn 16 was. The Longmorn 16 was just a wonderful, wonderful whiskey. Kato, hello, my friend. Really, really nice to have you in. Fantastic for you to stop by. Ebhead had a dram of splendid Glen Scotia 15 earlier. Yes, I've had that Glen Scotia a couple of times recently. Ralphie brought it to his tasting and shared it with us, and we thought it was wonderful. And then just a couple of weeks ago, just a few days after that, I went to a Glen Scotia hosted event, and they had their whole entire range, and the 15 was there again. It's a very good dram, very good value as well. But now in bed, then the iPad plinged. So you're comfortably tucked up in bed, are you? And tuning into this. Well, that's fantastic. I hope the iPad allows you to type. Colin, could you do a video conferencing tasting? Yes, absolutely, we could. I can invite guests and things into this even. Whiskey Jason, 60 to 75 minutes with about 1 to 3 cl per pour. Okay, that kind of makes some sense. I love this tomato, and I can't believe this tomato is as cheap as it is. Fresh pineapple and quality. I meant the live video, Roy, not the whiskey. Excellent. So I guess I never even asked that question. So the audio, the mic's right in front of me, literally, it's right here. So hopefully the audio is good. And I'm just using the webcam on the Mac because, yeah, I bought an external webcam, a Logitech webcam, and I didn't see an improvement in quality, and I sent it back. So I think this sounds like it's good enough, Reb. Whiskey Jason, chatting to Everest, fantastic. You guys can hook up, that's brilliant. Colin, what whiskey does Santa drink? With that red nose, I'm thinking Talisker. Whiskey Jason, oh bollocks, I lied. I'm from Germany but currently live in Vienna. So you're in Vienna, Everest, now, right? Maltfan, Aqvavitae, your thoughts on the Longmorn 13 Malbec and the 18? I can't help you there, Maltfan, because I've tried neither of those. Yeah, I've tried neither of those. There's literally thousands of expressions of whiskey. It's really, really difficult. It's really difficult to keep up. It really is. George, have you had any whiskies that drastically changed after you opened, for better or worse? I find that the majority of the whiskies that I open change. Some of them change quite a bit. Most of them just change a little bit. And occasionally, yes, they change drastically. I've only had one whiskey that actually really, really suffered for being open for a long time, and it was a Japanese whiskey. I've still got a wee drop of it downstairs, and it started off quite good, and it stayed good until probably about halfway down the bottle, and then I went back to it after about a year, and it was really flat and tired, and even tasted a wee bit fainty and off. But generally, I know a lot of people use inert gas and things, and I think I need to start doing that because, excuse me, some of the nicer whiskies that I have are staying open in the cupboard for a long time. And I think that it's getting to the stage that I maybe need to protect them, especially the older ones, the nicer ones, the more expensive ones. But I have to be honest and say that generally most of my whiskies are lying open, and I rarely notice that they change for the worse. Sometimes they change, the flavour changes. It seems to settle and round out for the most part. It seems to get a wee bit better, but they rarely change for the worse. Jez, meeting Ralphie, how was it? It was awesome, Jez. I mean, I've been a fan of that guy since probably about 5 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago. I first came across Ralphie. I was into whiskey, but I didn't really consume any whiskey content on YouTube. And then I just happened upon Ralphie one day, and it was a hypnotic video of his was the first video I watched, and that was when he compares the two Johnny Walker Reds, one of the modern Johnny Walker Red and Johnny Walker Red from the 70s, and just kind of compares how it's changed in that time. And some of Ralphie's videos can go on for quite a long time, and if you've got the time to sit and watch it, it's great. But a lot of the time you're just trying to fit these videos in between things and trying to catch them on the hop, so it can be tough to get through some of the longer videos, especially when he goes off topic a bit. But the guy is super knowledgeable, super passionate, and he's a gentleman. He's an absolute gentleman. And I was a wee bit nervous about meeting him because I thought that, never meet your heroes. Maybe he would be a bit dismissive of me and things. But he wasn't at all. He was wonderful. He was really, really nice. And he had a lot of time for folk. We were the last people to leave the room, actually, myself and Scott Monroe. Is he still in the chat? I was there with Scott and the Whiskey Rev. And eventually Ralphie had to pretty much ask us to leave at the end. But it was tremendous. And the whiskies that he brought along to that tasting were an absolute treat as well. Raphael, I think I need a dram now. Yes, you should pour a dram, Raphael, definitely. That Longmorn sounds disappointing. It was, unfortunately. My favourite whiskey so far is the Glendronach 12 and the Glenkinchie 12. Fantastic. Toon, I'm almost a bit jealous of where you are in whiskey right now because, you mentioned in the comment that you left on the channel that you've just started out, and the journey that's ahead of you is wonderful. You're going to have so many whiskey moments, so many epiphanies, and it's an exciting time, and it's an exciting time to be into whiskey. The Glendronach 12 was wonderful, really, really good, and the Glenkinchie 12 is very light. I find that it's a very good whiskey for starting a flight, a very good calibrator. But it might be one of these whiskies that I need to go back to when my palate develops a bit more and I can get more out of that Glenkinchie 12. I think it's quite a nice, light, crisp whiskey. Everest, just having the last dram from my Glendronach 12 bottle, one of my favourites too. Yes, it's a very good whiskey and still good value despite everybody online banging on about it constantly. It still seems to be holding its price. You're right, it's true. So we've got our two German speakers talking to each other. That's fantastic. Raphael, any favourite bourbons, if any? Yes. I'm enjoying Maker's Mark right now. It's a pretty good standard bourbon, but I've got some Elijah Craig barrel proof. I've got a bottle of that downstairs, and that is transcendent. It's fantastic. Super powerful, super strong, almost to the point that it's intimidating. But if you build up to it a little bit, if you have a couple of things beforehand, if you get your palate ready for cast strength stuff, it's quite fantastic, the flavors that's in there. It's the chocolate and the heavy dark caramels and heavy dark fruit. It's wonderful, that barrel proof. Scott, still here. It was a great experience, yes. The Ralphie tasting was. We were at the Whiskey Festival, the Glasgow Whiskey Festival, the day before, and that was very cool, and we got to meet briefly and chat to Charles McLean and just have a great time going around the festival. But all the while we were there, we were just trying to be very careful because We knew that the Ralphie tasting was in the middle of the afternoon the next day, and I'm very glad that we were careful. The Rev counted, and we only had 15 drams at the festival, but we were stable. We were in good shape, so we managed to make the Ralphie tasting okay, and it was absolutely brilliant. Lovely to hear that Ralphie's for real. I thought so. Yes, he absolutely is. Did you get to meet him then, Ebhead? Did you? I know it's a bit off topic, but your thoughts on the alcohol price law? I'm not going to go into that because it's quite divisive, but I don't agree with it. I don't think it should be there at all. People that need alcohol are going to find a way to buy the alcohol, and yeah, I don't know how effective it's going to be. Certainly, some research I was reading on the run up to that becoming a law seemed to suggest that in most of the environments that it's been implemented in, it didn't really make that much of a difference where it needed to. But yeah, I can't really comment much more than Jez. What's the most you spent on a whiskey, and what is too much for any bottle? It's quite subjective. The most I've spent was actually a gift. I bought a 1975 Anok for my brother for his 40th, which came in at 300 and something. I've never spent that on myself. The most I've spent on myself for a standard bottling would be probably Glengoyne 25, which is 260 retail, but at the distillery I got it for 240. I think that's the most. I think I would find it harder to push myself beyond 250, 300, because at the end of the day, it's just a bottle of whiskey. But there's been times that I would have probably dropped that kind of money and more on something like a Highland Park 30, and you know, a few other expressions that have long since gone. You know, some of the old rare malts. If I could stumble upon maybe an Old Rose Bank, Port Ellen, Brora, or something, you know, that's a different proposition when you're looking at that. But standard bottlings, retail bottlings, yeah, 250. Because I have to say that all the whiskey I buy is bought with the intention of opening and for the most part sharing as well. There's a couple of guys in this chat right now that will testify to the fact that I do really like to share my whiskey. Stefano Fina. Hey, Stefano, how are you? I'm actually managing to get people into this chat right now that I have met in flesh. It's fantastic to see you in there, big guy. How are you? I just opened, Kato, I missed your... how do I scroll? There we go. Let me make this window a little bigger. Sorry, guys. I just opened an older HP 18 I've had since about 2002. Delicious. I've probably got that very bottle downstairs. It's very, very Highland Park in its DNA, but it's much stronger and it's much darker. It's a much richer Highland Park. It's probably what you have there, Kato. Is it the one with the kind of sunrise picture on the bottle, a really old kind of round bottle with a black label? I've got one of those downstairs. Glad you're enjoying it. Hello from Hawaii. Hi there, hydraulics. Aloha, I think that's how they say it in Hawaii. The Whiskey Rev. Hey, big guy, how are you? Good to see you. So let me tell you, the Whiskey Rev is a friend of mine. He used to live around the corner, and our kids went to school together, and we used to get together every single Wednesday night and share a lot of whiskies, and some other people would come in and out of that group. But the Whiskey Rev and I were the stalwarts. And I am in bereavement now because he moved back to... Sorry, he moved to the Highlands. So he's now living up in the Speyside area and having a good time living up there, I think, and probably doesn't think too much about me, do you, Rev? And he's also got a job working for Macallan. Malt Fan, ECBP, the bottle of wow. That's right, exactly that, as the Scotch Test Dummies have so cried it, the bottle of wow. Whiskey Weekend. Yeah, Rev. That's right. Colin Jameson, does the temperature in Hawaii change the taste? Well, I certainly find when I have whiskey in Spain, it certainly does change the taste. Rob, the most expensive I ever bought was a Kalila 25. I wasn't impressed that 18 is much better. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people find that there was somebody just talking about that today. They were talking about Bunnahabhain 18 and Bunnahabhain 25, and how the 25 being so much more expensive than the 18 doesn't really give that much more in terms of an experience. But isn't that always the case? You know, you get a big jump in experience from say 10, 12 to 18, but then 18 to 21, 21 to 25 is incrementally smaller, but the cost is obviously much higher. Hydraulics, unless I travel, I'll never be able to experience a Lagavulin or Lafroig in the snow. Yes, but the real place to try those kind of whiskies would be near the seaside in horizontal rain when the wind's literally stripping the skin from your face. That would be the right environment for those guys. Yeah, but definitely Lagavulin and Lafroig, we're coming into that season now. We're already in that season in Scotland where you start to enjoy those whiskies and those kind of nice, cozy, wintry flavors. Yes, you can't beat the 3 degrees and rain you get here in Scotland. Exactly, Colin, exactly. I agree with your answer, Roy. Thank you. You're welcome, Jez. You're welcome. Have you tried it with a splash of water? That's one. Amy, hello. Amy, I wonder, do I know you? Are you the same Amy that comments on the Dummies videos? Aqvavitae, can you talk a bit about your shirt? Yes, I can. That would be a pleasure for me to talk about my shirt. This was a gift sent to me from Rob. Rob and I made an exchange. We exchanged some, let's say we exchanged some whiskey memorabilia. And he sent me, just last week, he sent a package back. And instead of using bubble wrap in the package, he used this T-shirt, and it fits perfectly. It's very cool. It's superb. So I was really, really pleased. And when I thought about doing this live stream, I actually went and changed into this shirt just for this live stream. So thanks for noticing. Hydraulics. Varying viewpoint. Yes, hi there. You've commented a few times in my videos. How long have you been whiskey seriously? So I just answered kind of a similar question a wee while ago. 2005, getting into whiskey, but seriously 2009. And then things got really geeky when the Whiskey Rev and I started getting together about 4 or 5 years ago. Maybe 6 years ago. I don't know when that was, when our kids started school together. So yeah, things went off the scale, and it didn't just go off the scale in terms of about geeking out about it. It went off the scale in terms of how much money I was spending on whiskey. My whiskey collection usually sat around 20 to 50 bottles. Maybe I didn't even ever break 50, but of that order. And yes, it's some factors of that now. It's a lot bigger now, and I blame the Rev for a lot of that. It's just, I think it's really good to have somebody that shares your interest and can get as passionate about something as you can. It can be dangerous as well. It can certainly be dangerous for your wallet. But yeah, seriously into whiskey since about 2009, and really, really at the jaggy edge of geeking out about it for the last few years. The Rev vlog, getting together for some whiskey and a racking with Roy was the best thing about where I stayed in Glasgow. And that's nice of you to say. I do miss you, big guy. 30 plus people watching. Are you kidding? Holy crap! I didn't even announce this. Speaking of Lagavulin and Lafroig by the sea, your thoughts on those with seafood? One of my favourite is Kalila, because it's quite light and crisp. Kalila and smoked salmon. Try it. Smoked salmon on an oat cake, which is a Scottish biscuit that goes wonderfully well with whiskey. Smoked salmon. You don't need anything else. You don't need any oils or any cream cheeses or anything, but a wee bit of plain cream cheese might be nice, actually, with a Kalila or a Talisker. Fabulous. Fantastic. Amy, you're George's wife. George Kaplan. Fantastic. Nice to have you in, Amy. Perhaps it's a little bit early for you guys to have a dram, but I think I have to say to you and George and anybody else that's joined me from that side of the Atlantic, happy Thanksgiving. Obviously, we don't have it here, but I know it's a big deal for you guys, and you're cooking turkey and having all sorts of traditional American fare. So yeah, happy Thanksgiving. Reb, I thought you said shot, but now I understand you said shirt. Yeah, sorry. Can you talk a bit about how the channel and blog came to life? Is it a one-man operation? So about December time last year, I was poking around with, I wanted a creative outlet for the whiskey thing. I wanted to join a whiskey club and get serious about hooking up with more folk about whiskey. I just became more and more kind of impassioned about it. And I came up with this kind of evangelizing about whiskey type thing. So I thought a blog would be the platform for me, and I came up with a few ideas and I wrote a couple of things. But I very quickly had a situation when I did an article about pronunciation in Scotch whisky, and I realised that subject, to tackle that properly, I would need to do a video for that. Now, the Whiskey Rev, who's in the chat, had been poking me and encouraging me to consider doing video about whiskey for some time, and I just never saw myself in that place, and I guess I was a wee bit shy about it. I didn't think I had the confidence to do that. Certainly, if you'd have told me a year ago that I would be doing a live hangout on YouTube talking about whiskey with whiskey folk, I don't think I would have believed you. But I started the blog. Then I did a few kind of blind tasting type videos with the Whiskey Rev and another one of our friends, Roberto, who's another dad who just lives around the corner. And I used that format to see how I would get on with video, and how, I mean, I do some video for my job, but it's very, very small, tiny little projects. So I used that kind of, that format as a platform to try and test and go through a process of video, and also to see how I would feel about speaking to camera and to edit myself after it as well, because that was a very difficult thing. And again, I'll credit the Whiskey Rev with he came round here one night and the two of us sat when I was ready to release my first video, and I was ready to just not bother. I didn't want to do it. And he kind of said, no, go ahead. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think it's a good video. You should do it. And I put it out, and then I did another one shortly after. And then I got to the stage that I felt comfortable enough to tackle the pronunciation thing and do the pronunciation thing on video. And that was very rewarding. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the wonderful feedback I got from the whiskey community, the support I got. And that kind of made me think that this could be a fun thing to do. And that's how it came about. And I have to say, it's hard for me. It really is quite difficult, because I always decided, that I wasn't going to sit down there and kind of just do the reviewing an expression of whiskey each week or anything like that. I think there are a lot of guys out there that are doing that already. I think they do a very good job of it. I don't think that my talents really lend themselves to that. So I wanted to do the evangelism thing. I wanted to cover subjects and concepts about whiskey that I could get enthusiastic about, that I could go through the process of shooting and editing and releasing a video about subjects that I could get passionate about, because it's pretty hard work. It really is. It's difficult. If any of you have ever done any kind of video production, I encourage you to try it. Just even sit and speak to camera for a while, and then imagine trying to edit it. It's a difficult thing. You can speak fluently until you set up a camera and start to record yourself, and then it just goes to the wall. It's crazy. So yes, it's a one-man operation, but over the months I have had a lot of support. And the Whiskey Rev was good at the beginning, just to give me that extra nudge and kind of just push me over that to take that step off the precipice kind of thing. Colin is saying hydraulics. No, the Rev is saying my collection was 3 bottles until we got together. That's true, Rev. That's absolutely true. How big is your collection now? I could take a guess at that. Maybe you don't want to admit it. Hydraulics, I bet the seafood in your part of the world is amazing. We're getting pretty good at it here now. Look at Loch Fyne fisheries. Yeah, if you're ever heading up to, if you're ever going to Islay or Campbellton or some of the kind of whiskey destinations in Scotland, you have to pass Loch Fyne. And there's a seafood place on the right-hand side that I heartily recommend, especially in summer when outside they have a hut just serving oysters straight out the shell, and fabulous, absolutely fabulous. Colin's correcting his own spelling. Yep. Toon, what is your opinion about Johnnie Walker Blue? I think it's way overpriced. Vin from No Nonsense Whiskey just released a video on that today, and I commented, and Johnnie Walker Blue is full of wonderful malts. Diageo have at their disposal some of the best distilleries in Scotland, and some of that malt ends up in Johnnie Walker Blue. But if you apply my ABCD to it, it's 40%. There's no age statement. It's probably chill filtered, and it's probably coloured. So it would score a 0 out of 4. So that tells you straight away that Johnnie Walker Blue is not meant for us. Johnnie Walker Blue is meant as a really nice gift that you would give to, I don't know, somebody you wanted to impress, but also somebody that didn't really know that much about whiskey other than he occasionally enjoyed a whiskey. That's what Johnnie Walker Blue is for. And it does a very good job of that. And the quality of Johnnie Walker Blue is not in question. It's a wonderful whiskey, but perhaps a wee bit soft and a wee bit expensive. So I agree with you on that, Toon, definitely. Mark, Whiskey Whistle. Hey, Mark. Fantastic to see you. And I saw your name there and I thought, no, that can't be right. It's got to be the middle of the night where you are, but obviously it's the morning already. Fantastic to have you popping in. I hope you're still here. I hope you haven't disappeared already, Mark. Thanks for joining us. Cheers, fella. I'm talking too much. I'm not doing enough dramming. Varying Viewpoint, thank you for this video. It's a nice break in the day. You're very welcome. I'm actually quite enjoying it myself. I don't know how far I am in actually, but I think we'll try and keep it to an hour tonight. I didn't expect so many people to drop in. This is just absolutely fantastic. Kalila 12 is my Desert Island Whiskey's favourite. Kalila 12 is a fine dram. Reb, have you tried Lagavulin 8? Do you also enjoy Ardbeg 10? Kalila 12 is a classy dram. It really is. Wonderful. And I was never more impressed with it than one time we had the Whiskey Rev and a few other guys were around at the house, and we did a kind of Islay blind tasting. And those 3 drams were in the lineup, and we actually got them quite confused, and we struggled to tell one from the other at one point. And yeah, Kalila 12 is still fantastic value. It really is. Islay whiskies, smoky, peaty whiskies, anything from Islay is becoming very expensive just now. I mean, you see that Ardbeg Anno is out now. They're selling Ardbeg Anno for £50. Doesn't tell you how old the whiskey is that's in that bottle, but it's young. And there are suspicions and rumours out there that some of the whiskey that's in that bottling is as young as 4 years old. Don't quote me on that. That's just what I've heard. But sure, it won't all be 4 years old. There's going to be a lot of older whiskey in there as well. But they're selling a non-age statement whiskey now at launch for £50. No age statement. That's the same price as their 10-year-old. And it's indicative of what producers can get for Islay whiskey right now. It's very expensive right now. It carries a premium. And that's when you look at things like Lagavulin 16, Kalila 12, the range from Bowmore, Bunnahabhain 12. These core whiskies are staying tight on price, and the price hasn't increased as much as you might imagine in recent years. That must be tempting for the retailers and for the producers, Diageo, to bump the prices up, and Burn Stewart and Bunnahabhain, but they haven't. The price has stayed fairly stable, and they should be applauded for that. Absolutely. Me and my girlfriend loved smoked salmon. Love smoked salmon and quite like Kalila. Never tried it together though. Well, give it a try. Today is okay for an early dram. Thanksgiving, absolutely. That's good. I never thought of that. Now I have to scroll down. Drinking some mead. Travis is drinking some mead. Oh no, I've scrolled down too far. All the Scotch bourbon is boxed up at the moment. Are you moving? Are you in the middle of a move, Travis? The Whiskey Rev, I'm taking all the credit for the existence of this channel. Yeah, okay, as long as you give me credit for the fact that you're getting a job at Macallan. Hydraulics. Colin, yep, fresh fish is still pricey, but the quality is good. We have a local dish called poke. Okay, where are you, Hydraulics? Where are you in the world? Whiskey Rev, although he didn't want my face ever on cam. No, that's not true. It's not that I didn't want your face on cam. I didn't think you wanted your face on cam. And it wasn't until after the event that you said that you would have put your face on cam. Do you want your face on cam? Yeah, but no, now your face is on cam. Your face is. You've got 2 videos online. If anybody searches the Whiskey Rev, they'll find his 2. I don't know if you've done any more since. I would have got a notification. So no, you've still only got 2 videos, but they're on there. So you've got your own face on cam now. Hydraulics is asking George. Reb is saying his pronunciation videos are some of the best whiskey watching on YouTube. Instant classics. Wow, Reb. If you're ever in Scotland, you've got yourself a fat whiskey. Do you know that? That's really nice to hear because, yeah, they took a fair bit of time, but they've paid me back immensely. I mean, the first one that went out is just doing tremendously well, and I often wonder how responsible that single video is for the growth of my channel. I think it's definitely a very strong feeder for people to come into the channel from there. So yeah, that's wonderful to get that feedback, Reb. It's brilliant, really is. It makes it worthwhile. It really does puff up your confidence when you get feedback like that. And I have to say, the community in general, Reb, you've been super supportive. Jez, there's just loads of people just constantly on with very, very positive feedback, and that does and it's not just when the video is released, it's kind of over time people are watching these, and it does make you realize that this can be a very rewarding thing to do, and it almost makes the hours and hours of editing worthwhile. It does make it worthwhile, it does. Jason Whiskey Wise, when is your blind, is Jason in? When is your blind whiskey tasting come along with Roy? I can't see Jason in. I didn't see him in. Okay, let me give you all a preview. I'm going to move the chat out of the way for just a second so I can pull up the footage. The camera. This is, I don't know if anybody can see this. I'll put this in front of the camera. This is Jason Whiskey Wise Blind Challenge. So some of you might be aware that the last blind challenge went out to, now this is something that I actually developed with Foodquig. Foodquig is I'm sure you all know him, he's a fantastic guy, and he's really one of these guys that if it's late at night and you've poured something nice, search his channel to see if he's reviewed what you've poured and sit and enjoy the dram with him. It's just, the way that guy tastes whiskey is like nothing else. He's absolutely unique. He's wonderful. But Foodquig and I did this thing where he was on live one time and he said, you know, I've got nobody around to pour me anything blind, else I would taste blind. And that was a call to action for me. So I put together a blind set for Foodquig. I put a little setup in it to kind of make sure that he didn't know what he was tasting. I sealed envelopes, and he got this blind tasting kit. And it struck me that that could be a wonderful format. And it's not just a good format in terms of showing the excitement that can be around blind tasting, but also a format that engaged the community and also demonstrated just how connected we are as whiskey reviewers. You would think that the whiskey reviewing community, the guys who go on YouTube and do vlogs and reviews and all this kind of thing, you would think that there would be a competitive element to that we wouldn't talk to each other and we would compete, and it's completely the opposite. We are utterly supportive of each other. we're completely connected. And I find that whiskey is just wonderful for that, that it connects people in that way, and it brings out passion and breaks down barriers and shrinks distances and takes away division and borders. And again, I'm going to mention the Whiskey Rev. There's a saying that he's got, and his saying is, whiskey, is there anything that it can't do? So I had this idea that if each blind tasting participant was to go through that process and then nominate the next person to do it, then that would show, you know, that connectedness. And it would also help make subscribers aware of the other channels that are out there as well, and get a bit of cross-pollination. I've been very slow to put this one together, but there's a few reasons for that, and a couple of the whiskies in here, and one of them I had to get permission to put in here because it's a bottle that I have in my collection that I don't own. So once I got that permission, I could finish this set. And then Jason actually came up to Glasgow for a while, and I was going to hand it to him, but then I realised that he was only taking hand luggage. So it's still here, and it's ready to go. I'm going to mail this out tomorrow. But this blind tasting kit, it comprises obviously the whiskies. The 5 drams are inside here, but you might be able to notice that they're only marked. It just says blind sample on the label. The labels aren't very tidy here, but that's fine. It just says blind sample, and they have some coloured dots to mark what they are. And then he opens the first envelope, which is his instructions and an overview. The second envelope are the challenges. So the challenges are usually, like within it was the over 25 years old, the under 25 pounds, the blend, you know, different things that you had to spot, because the blind tasting challenge is not to try and catch somebody out, and it's not to try and guess or have them guess what the whiskies are. Rather, it's to have them thinking about what they're tasting and vocalize their preferences based on their palate and what they like. And once they've committed to that, they get to open the challenges and play a little game to see if they can pick out the different genres of whiskey, if you like. And then they open an envelope that tells them what the whiskies are, but it doesn't match them with the bottles. They have to try and do a match thing. So they're semi-blind at that stage. And then finally, we've got these envelopes are marked. I look through the letterbox, and then the keys to the door. And that's obviously the full reveal when they can open it up and see how they've scored or not. I had tremendous fun doing the blind tasting challenge with Vin, and this one's going in the post tomorrow so that we can do the same thing with Jason. And Jason will nominate somebody else that we'll engage and see if they're up for doing the same thing, because it takes a tremendous amount of trust. Because they have to trust in the first instance that I'm not doing anything to expose them as fools or doing anything stupid like that, but rather to try and encourage their palate to do the talking. And then, yeah, they'll nominate somebody else, and then I'll try and convince them that they sit down and do a blind tasting challenge that I've sent them, record all the footage start to finish, and then hand it to me to edit. And the reason I do that is because I have the ability to edit. Some of the guys that will take on the challenge only do minimal editing for the channel. So I take on that responsibility, no problem. And I think it adds a huge layer of integrity, because they give me the footage, warts and all. So there's no question of the honesty, and there's no question that they've done it in an absolutely genuine way. And I think that people understand that dynamic, and they like it, and they buy into that and enjoy it as well. Apologies, people, if I'm monologuing. I maybe should have had somebody else co-host this with me. George Kaplan, Sweet and Peaty, Tomato Legacy is excellent value for money. Yep. But for me, the Deanston Virgin Oak is so much better. What do you prefer? Well, I haven't had much of this bottle. I got to try Deanston Virgin Oak quite recently, and I was quite struck by it. And I had a sealed bottle. This was gifted to me by a friend of mine a few months ago, and it just never was opened. And I opened it recently. And yeah, the 2 or 3 drams that I've had out of it, I was struck. But I think it's got so much to do with the 46.3%, because, you know, this is standard tomatin that they've put into some virgin oak casks for a year or so, 18 months. I don't know how long they put it in for. you know, so what we should really be tasting is some of that non-age statement nonsense that you get, where the virgin oak has been used to kind of accelerate the age or to mask the young whiskey or whatever they do, or just to make it more palatable. But somehow that doesn't exist in this. It smells very bourbony on the nose sometimes to me, but there's lots of kind of Scotch traits as well. The fruit is there. And then on the palate, that extra alcohol just delivers so much more of an experience. And I think that's what's been compelling about this whiskey for me. I'm looking forward to sharing this with the Rev as well. I think he'll like it. Although I will have to say that it's at the sweeter end of the spectrum. It's quite a sweet whiskey. But this Tomatin Legacy actually was part of the blind lineup I did for Vin at No Nonsense Whiskey. And despite this being the whiskey in that lineup that was a sub 25, the budget bottling, he picked it as his second favourite out of the lineup. And it was up against Longmorn 15, and it was up against Scotch Malt Whisky Society Exotic Cargo Blend. It beat quite a few other really good things, and it was only beaten by a very well-aged Linkwood, a 27-year-old Linkwood beat it in that blind lineup. So yeah, it was wonderful to see that happening, because Vin chose purely on his gut, on his palate, on what he could nose and taste, and he was really struck by how good this Tomatin Legacy is. And it is good. It's just such a good whiskey. Reb, in terms of what I prefer, I've not got to know the Deanston enough yet to declare a favourite. I would say that they're both very good, but similar and different as well. This is only 43%. The Tomatin Legacy is a wee bit lighter. George Kaplan is saying, I really like the outdoor photos by the Whiskey Rev on Instagram. Yeah, he's a walker. He goes to the top of mountains regularly. He actually managed to get me up to the top of one once. It's kind of sad that we can't do that now, Rev. I suppose we can, but it just takes a lot more planning now that you're not around the corner. Happy Thanksgiving to all Americans. Yes, absolutely, Telex. And Telex, fantastic to see you in. I see you've changed your username to Telex the Whiskey Tech. That makes sense. And I think that you are starting to do your own live thing as well. But of course, again, on American time zones. So I wish you the best of success with that, buddy. I caught your show the other day, and I thought it was a very good start, and I would be very up for supporting and collaborating, but I know we've already discussed that. Travis, happy Turkey Day, Telex. Drinking mead. Rev, no one to share. Rev, yep. Yeah, he's kind of on his own up there in Aviemore now. Well, not really on his own, but he doesn't have a whiskey geek living around the corner from him that he's aware of. Johnny Walker Green Label 15 is really good. I agree. I think it's, again, it suffers a wee bit. I think it's, what is the Johnny Walker Green Label? Is it 43%? It's a wee bit soft, but I love it. I've got it downstairs. I've never compared it to the previous edition. I didn't try the previous edition, but yes, I enjoy the Johnny Walker Green. Reb is saying shalom to Mark. Hydraulics is saying, can I get everyone's opinion on how to turn someone onto a peated whiskey? Yes, there is one absolutely hammer blow effective way where they cannot deny it. They can only be suckered into it, and that is to go to Islay. It is just one of the most wonderful places to go if you're into whiskey. It really is amazing. Okay, I think I've caught up with the comments. I think that's me exactly at an hour. Oh no, I've not caught up with the comments. What is happening? Actually, I'm not going to be able to keep up with these comments. I'm going to need to hurry up. Oh no. Okay, Saltire. Hi, Aqvavitae. Good to see you online tonight. What are you drinking, pal? Yes, Saltire. I can't figure out if you're American or if you're Scottish. I think you are Scottish, but I don't think you live here. That's what I've reading between the lines. Maybe you can enlighten me. Aqua, your personal thoughts on Japanese whiskey, your favourite and worst. I don't have much of an opinion. Most of what I've tried, I enjoyed. I've got one downstairs that I don't enjoy so much. And that's probably because it's the one that went a bit off after being opening a while, and that's a Yamazaki Distillers Reserve, which is a non-age statement one. But it was good when I first opened it. It was actually really good. I haven't tasted anything bad, although I know that because of the demand pressures on Japanese whiskey now, I know there's some rubbish coming out now. Norwegian salmon. Yep. Are you Norwegian then, Ephead? We eat a lot of your salmon, and I think we export a lot of our salmon to you guys, which is bizarre. Hi guys, nice shirt. Scotch for Dummies. Wow, nice to have you in. Who is this? This is the trouble with Scotch for Dummies. Anytime that they're commenting, anytime you're involved in a discussion with them, you never know. I'm going to guess that this is Drew. This is Drew that's in the chat. Everest, so you like the Tomatin Legacy, but what do you think of the older ones? I love Tomatin. I've not tasted anything from Tomatin that is anything other than a damn good whiskey prospect. There you go. I've been to Tomatin tasting events and tasted their whole lineup. I've been fortunate enough to taste a few of their specials and distillery exclusives. It seems to me that Tomatin are one of those distilleries that's on the way up and still have their feet firmly on the ground when it comes to the price point as well. They're all damn good value. Port finish, yes. Again, the port finish. I don't tend to love wine finishes very much, but the Tomatin port finish was a good one, definitely. Hey, Malted Man Cave. Hi, Keith. How are you, big guy? Nice to have you in on Thanksgiving. There's quite a few Americans dropped in, which is wonderful. We're at 35. This is amazing. The old bottling of Tomatin 15. The box looks like a British post box. Really excellent stuff. That's there. Yes, the old black and red livery, the tall, slim bottle. Yes, I think that's the one that the Whiskey Ref had the 18 in that livery. Happy Thanksgiving, S4Ds. Absolutely. Happy Thanksgiving, Drew, Mark, Sean, Andrew, whoever you are. Roy, Rebusine. Roy, we had a whiskey club last Saturday night and we used your coloured sticker trick on the Glencairn glass. Great idea. Thank you very much. That was something that the Whiskey Rev and I used to do regularly every week. George Kaplan, happy Thanksgiving. Good. Oh, sample exchange going on. Fantastic. Looking forward to sharing with my Scotch brother. Good. Whiskey's fantastic, isn't it? Malted Man Cave, if you win that Abbey bottle, you have to share. I'll do the same. Whiskey Rev, George, thanks for commenting about your photos, and it's a privilege to have Roy as one of my best friends. Fabulous, Rev. It's a pleasure to have you around as well. Welsh Toro, fantastic big guy. How are you? Shit, just joined. Well, better late than never. I 100% agree. I read this in my review. Very silky smooth bourbon flavour with the instant classic act. The Tomatin was a bit all up front in your face. Yeah, but I found the Tomatin to have a lot of white fruit, a lot of pineapple, a lot of tropical fruit, especially on the nose. Very, very pineapple-y, mango type, light white fruit, kind of tropical flavors and smells. It was like just very, very good aromatic whiskey on the nose. Eating Spanish time. Happy Thanksgiving. Eating Spanish time. It's still cooking, but I'm drinking. Welsh, you and I could talk a lot about Spain. Do you know that? I love Spain. I absolutely love it. We've always got somebody Spanish living in the house with us here as well. And I like that. I like the kind of Spanish flair and colour and food and culture being around the house. It's fantastic. So when we ever meet over a dram, Welsh Toro will get together and talk about the Spanish thing. But it's always curious to me. Are you Welsh or are you Spanish? Okay. Good seeing some of the usual suspects on here. Absolutely. This is wonderful. Except tomorrow, Octo 8.3 shipment comes on Saturday. Good for you. You've been throwing some money out there. That's quite an expensive bottling, isn't it, George? Malted Man Cave, I got to try Buna 25, Mac 25 on pack. Yes, you said that. I have not tried the Mac 25, but the other two, wonderful. It's a great success. Live stream to go on, fellow. I will support. Superb. That's wonderful to hear, Toon. Really is. I would like to try and fathom out a format that worked and something that we could do relative. I mean, not kind of every week. I think it would work kind of on every other week or maybe once a month or something like that. It could work. But I think tonight is just me kind of reacting and kind of going through comments and things. It would be nice to have like a moderator type role and maybe a bit of structure or something and kind of competitions going or subjects covered, themes or something like that. But it would, I guess it would depend on the size of the group that you're going to get in. I have a plan of collaboration, just getting through the holiday first, but I have an outline. Look forward to hearing about it, Telex, absolutely. JW Green 15 is special as the right now. Oh, good for you. Get it. So Saltire, you live in the UK if you're talking about ASDA, right? It's going well, everyone. Sipping on a G&M Kalila cast strength. Yes, I have that downstairs. I have, I think, the 2004. G&M are just fantastic. I compared the 6.1 to 7.1. Is that one of your reviews, Reb? Very interesting. Whiskey Jason, you now have a new sub. Fantastic. There you go. Thanks, Jason. Do you have a channel now? Yes, Telex has a channel now. He's already done a live stream. Keith, Malted Man Cave. He's already done a live stream. Saltire, yes, I'm a Scot and I live on the East Coast. Moving house tomorrow, so having a dram to chill out after a hellish day. Good for you, big guy. There is nothing better you can do than to chill out after a hellish day than do it with a dram. So where are you on the East Coast? Tell me more or less. I was born in Perth, but I'm a Glaswegian. Now, Reb, I think I had a funny seal on my Balblair. It's okay yet to try Balblair. Well, you need to get acquainted with Balblair. The young ones, the 10-year-old or the 05 type vintage, the 04s and things, the bourbon aged, very pale coloured ones, they're quite light, quite honey driven. But the older, slightly older vintages, especially ones that have sherry, I just absolutely love them. The 99s have been good. The 90 was just absolutely tremendous, wonderful. The 90 was one of the whiskey revs actually that we got through remarkably quick, if memory serves me. Drew here. Glad to see you live, Roy. I guessed it was you, big guy. I could just feel I got the Drew vibe coming through. Yeah, it's really, really good for you to drop in as well. Fantastic. I hope you're going to hang around to the end. I was kind of going to wrap this up. I'm just trying to catch up with comments. I knew you were Scott Saltire. I must say Thanksgiving, live stream, funny things, and all regular across the board. Okay, it looks like that I can start to wind this up because you guys are now having a fantastic chat amongst yourselves. Just as Vin turns up, Vin's just come back from Vin at No Nonsense Whiskey. He's just appeared from, I think it was a McNeera tasting that you were on, Vin, right? No live stream tonight unless something changes. Okay. So that's an odd thing for the Scotch for Dummies, not to have a live stream on a Thursday night. That is very odd. So what I usually do is I get up or wake up a wee bit earlier on a Friday morning and I sit in my bed, and if I'm very lucky, I sometimes get some tea brought to me, and I sit and I watch the Scotch for Dummies live stream in the morning. So that's something that won't be happening tomorrow. Welsh Tory's Welsh, good, and my wife is Spanish. Muy bien. I love both. Yes, we are all fans of Spain in this house and Spanish culture and language and everything. My wife is a Spanish speaker, I guess. Learn one phrase very early on, and it seems to work. Estoy de acuerdo. Okay. No Nonsense Whiskey. Buongiorno. Okay, yes, I spotted that you dropped in. Buongiorno, Vin. How are you? Are you feeling bright? Are you fresh? Or are you struggling a little bit? Dundee born and bred. Yes, so we're fellow Taysiders, Saltire, fantastic. But moving to Arbroath tomorrow, mainly for the smokies and fish suppers, fantastic. And you've got a bit of a hike to a distillery from Arbroath as well. What's your nearest distillery going to be then? I don't know what that would be. Aberfeldy or wow. Great seeing you live, mate. Shelton, wow, fantastic, lovely to see you in, big guy. I was very fortunate to spend a night dramming in Glasgow with Shelton. Just to let you know, Shelton is the European sales and marketing manager for Paul John whiskey. So the bold, the brilliance, the classic, or the range of whiskies. He's the guy charged with promoting them in Europe. But what's wonderful about Shelton is that he's an absolute passionate whiskey geek as well. And it was tremendous to he took me to a bar in Glasgow that I hadn't been to in years and years and years. But this bar has transformed, and it's really curated a lot of its malt whiskey selection. And now it's one of the best bars I've been to in Glasgow, and it's in the West End. It's called the Shelton. Remind me, it's in Finniston. Why has it left me? I just recommended it for somebody who went just at the weekend there. Shelton, if you're still in the chat, remind me. The Ben Nevis. Of course, it was the Ben Nevis we went to at the end of the night. Fantastic. We had great fun that night. Balblair, 1983, yum yum. Absolutely. And you know what's stunning about that 1983 Balblair? Not just how fabulous a whiskey prospect it is, but the price. It still has to be the cheapest. I mean, I don't know how much stock of it is left, but the last time I saw it bottled, it was a 32-year-old whiskey. And it was, I think at that time, it was barely over £200. And I think if I try hard enough and concentrate, I can still kind of taste it now. It's wonderful whiskey, especially at that money. You ditched the drunks at the train station then. They were lucky I didn't boot them out at Birmingham International. Boot them out? Were you driving, Vin? Did you go to a Macmira tasting? Were you driving? Tasting was Macmira, yes, really nice, if not a little expensive. So it wasn't. Was it not a subsidised thing then? I chuckled at the tweet. You've been twittering, Vin. Okay, I think I've caught up with the discussion. We've still got over 30 folk in, but this has been an absolute blast tonight. I've been on for I think about an hour and 15 minutes or something like that. But yeah, it would be just carry on the discussion in the comments or whatever. If you are up for a European time zone regular live feed, I think also if we did it at this time of night, if it was kind of 9:30, 10 o'clock at night European time, that seems to make sense because it's a good time for somebody to pour a dram and sit and interact like this. But I also think that time is good because, as we've proved tonight, we can bridge the Atlantic and involve our American friends as well and get some of those guys involved in the discussion. And it also means that it increases the chance that if it ends up being a regular thing, if it ends up being guest-based, if it ends up being structured, it means that we could involve guests and people from across the Atlantic as well. I know that all of those guys over there would be happy to support, no question. Aqvavitae, well done. Thank you, Jason. Thank you very much. And this has been a blast. I can't believe that the time's gone so fast. It really has been good fun to have you on. Scott, you're very welcome. Nice to have you until the end. Well, Storrs asked me, "You're not doing a quig then?" What do you mean? Like an 8-hour, like a whiskey-thon? No, that's only people with the stamina of a quig can do that. Thursday night is actually best for me. Well, Thursday night might work for me, but the Whiskey Rev and I have still managed to salvage a Whiskey Wednesday. We just have to do it virtually now. So I wonder if the Rev would be up for changing nights. Let's see. Let's maybe have a chat with him offline. George, this has been great luck. Roy, thanks. Great discussion and answers. I do feel like I've monologued. I don't know if I've actually answered much, but George, it's really nice of you to say thank you very much. So I'll thank you all for jumping in. I can't believe how much support I got. I didn't even announce this. It's wonderful. Just think of what could be achieved if we did actually announce something in advance and have a bit of structure about it, have a bit of fun. I'd maybe try and recruit. I know I've been speaking to Vin. There's plenty of people, maybe the Rev. There's people out there that could get involved and help from a moderation perspective. I know that Vin would be happy to help host. So we could talk about setting up a dedicated channel just for live streaming. I could share the stream key with anybody that wanted to host it. And it could be a collaborative kind of whiskey tube, whiskey fabric type thing. And if we could run it on a European time zone, so much the better. Anyway, this is just me thinking aloud. So let's see what we can do with it. Don't worry, yes, Finn, I'll leave it live on the channel and you can catch up tomorrow. Welsh, it was pleasure, and it's just brilliant to have so many of the familiar faces, the positive commenters, and just so many whiskey community folk in here. It's an absolute pleasure to have spent my Thursday night with you guys. Just now is a great time to be into whiskey, and I love being a part of it. And there's Jackass and Whiskey and Pinot Beans just dropped in at the last minute. Hello, big guy. Just as I'm checking out, I do apologise. Just quickly before I go, I really enjoy the Boutique Whiskey Company. I don't know how they manage to continually find such marvellous whiskies. It annoys me that it's 50 cl bottles, but hey, you pays your money. Yes, they do damn good whiskey. And on that note, I'm going to say Slanchava to everybody. Thank you all for joining. And as always, this has been an absolute pleasure. Till next time.